The Mello TV Evening News at 8 is brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Coronavirus is in Jamaica, and I know you feel scared and worried. But you can't let COVID-19 divide us. Coronavirus infects all kinds of people. It doesn't discriminate. So why should you? When someone coughs or sneezes or shows signs of the virus, tell them to call 888-1-LOVE immediately. And remember, stay 3 feet away, but don't attack or disrespect them, because we're all in this thing together. Come on, Jamaica, cut the hate and don't discriminate. Let us stand together and fight COVID-19 as one family, one nation.
Tonight, following yesterday's announcement of a general election for Thursday, September 3, Dr. Peter Phillips says the PNP is prepared to rescue Jamaica.
Jamaica deserves a better government. The People's National Party are prepared to rescue Jamaica.
7 current members of parliament are not seeking re-election at the September 3 polls. Still tonight, DIGICEL notified of 6 additional COVID-19 cases and 2 negative results for employees from the same team. And the Kingston Eastern Police seized 119 rounds of ammunition and a magazine during a joint operation with the JDF in MCINTYRE Villa. Good evening. Following yesterday's announcement of a general election for Thursday, September 3, Dr. Peter Phillips says the PNP is prepared to rescue Jamaica.
Jamaica deserves a better government. The People's National Party are prepared to rescue Jamaica from a declining economy that is leaving the majority of the people and the poorest people behind. We are prepared to rescue Jamaica from the clutches of murder and violence and a government that don't know how to control crime. We are prepared to rescue Jamaica for the students who can't afford the higher fees at the university. We are prepared to rescue Jamaica on behalf of the people and have no links and therefore can't get no work. We are prepared to rescue Jamaica on behalf of all the people who are living out life on the edge of poverty with the minimum wage. We are prepared to rescue Jamaica on behalf of the farmers who have been suffering without any extension services. We are prepared to rescue Jamaica on behalf of the people of Jamaica. We are going to build your Jamaica, the Jamaica that you want. Your time now. One love, one heart.
Meanwhile, during the People's National Party's Central Workers meeting, the party's vice president says this is not the time for an election in light of the recent increase in COVID-19 cases in Jamaica. More on this story with Colleen May.
The People's National Party Vice President Senator Damian Crawford says given the recent spike in COVID-19 cases in the country, it is not the right time for an election.
I never think an election should have been called right now because there was a spike in COVID. And even though me know say me can afford the little care, I know say many who need politics will not be able to afford that care. When you look at the polling station, that will be a center for transmission, because everybody from everywhere will come there. When you look at the elderly who need to be protected, they are the ones most likely to vote. Young people now say they're in politics. It's the people who know why it is important to fight for your rights and for your country. They are 92 and still coming. But he recognized that every day he decreases in popularity because the truth cannot hide. And so I was saying that no election can call now because the risk of the people's life is not worth the attainment of power. and he decides that his best chance of power is now, even though your most likely chance of contacting COVID is also now.
At the party's central workers' meeting at the St. James High School in Montego Bay, St. James last night, Mr. Crawford also expressed why the Jamaica Labour Party is not fit to be in power.
A seared conscience means that you have burned your conscience to the point that it no longer works, it no longer functions. The Jamaica Labour Party have a seared conscience. Now there is a big difficulty to when somebody now have no conscience. Because if you have no conscience, there is no shame and there is no guilt. Now you have in this country a hospital down here called Cornwall Regional, where still don't fix. You have people sitting and dying in chairs. You have people here who get a little beanie 10 square foot for rent. Them have to pay 40,000, 30,000. And with crime getting out of hand, they decide to spend 200 million on used cars that till today we still don't get the used car. They have no guilt and they had no shame. So may I tell you right now, I am running this election like there is no tomorrow, because I'm fighting for the conscience of this country, for the shame of this nation, and for the guilt of these people.
He further spoke about some of the various sectors that the PNP's manifesto is targeting.
You see, when I became vice president, Peter Phillips said, "What you want?" I said, "I want to write the manifesto." Him said, "That alone." I said, "I will write a manifesto Michael Manley is proud of." This manifesto is for the police that have been sacrificed to stand up in sun and look in a car without pay. This manifesto is for the nurses where taxi man scan because them think them have COVID. This manifesto is for the teachers who have to go up on them computer and pay them on an internet bill so that they can now go and teach the children. This manifesto is for the entertainment people who have lost their space in the hotel because them are carrying people from foreign to provide Jamaican entertainment. This manifesto is for the people on contract where go hotel go work and can't take a bed from courts because you have a 1-year contract. This manifesto is for the people of Jamaica.
Member of Parliament candidate for Central St. James, Andre Hilton, in his remarks expressed that the Jamaican people need a change in government.
I am not here to fool around. I'm here to represent you and your interest in Gordon House. I'm not here to go to Gordon House to warm bench. I'm going to Gordon House to represent your needs. Not just Central St. James, but St. James. Central St. James is the middle of the city of Montego Bay. And sometimes we are ashamed to walk down in the city of Montego Bay. This member of parliament has done nothing for the city. This council in South has done nothing for the city. We want a member of parliament and we want councillors who are serious about the upliftment of the masses of this country. You owe your children and your grandchildren that responsibility, comrades. Comrades, I'm going to say it again. You owe your children and your grandchildren that obligation to get rid of this uncaring, devastating government.
Reporting for Mello TV News, I'm Kelleen May.
Still tonight, the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, ECJ, says the announcement of a national parliamentary election for Thursday, September 3, has triggered the campaign period under the election campaign financing legislation. Now, in a statement released earlier today, the ECJ outlined that the campaign period begins on the date that the election is announced, yesterday, August 11, and will continue through to 24 hours before the time of the opening of the polls on Election Day, that is Wednesday, September 2. Now, some of these stipulated guidelines for campaign financing are that all gifts sponsorships, and monies contributed to political parties and candidates during this period must be disclosed to the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, ECJ. Contributors may give a maximum of $1.5 million to each candidate and up to $31.5 million to a registered political party. A candidate may spend a maximum of $15 million in election expenses and a registered political party up to $630 million. Now, failure to disclose contributions or government contracts held can result in charges not exceeding $1 million and/or a term of imprisonment not exceeding 12 months. The financing of election campaigns for the September 3 parliamentary election will be closely monitored by the Electoral Commission of Jamaica. Meanwhile, 7 current members of parliament are not seeking re-election at the September 3 polls. Among them is Pernell Charles Sr., the Speaker of the House of Representatives, as well as Robert Pickersgill, Derek Kellier, Ronald Thwaites, Noel R. Scott, Evan Redmond, and Leslie Campbell. Prime Minister Andrew Holness and opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips paid tribute in Parliament yesterday to the men who indicated to their respective parties that they will not be seeking re-election. Mr. Charles Sr. thanked parliamentarians for their service and pointed out that the next slate of MPs to enter the House of Representatives will likely include more women. Still making news tonight, the Jamaica Progressive Party, in publishing its manifesto, says its mission is to be an all-embracing political movement supporting the welfare of all Jamaicans of all or no political persuasion at home and abroad. Now, in the party's manifesto, some of the proposed plans outlined include to have the national debt fully paid off within the first 90 days, forgiveness of student loans, forgiveness of National Housing Trust, NHT loans for qualified individuals, and the return of NHT contributions for qualified individuals. Having a starting salary of US $48,000 or the Jamaican equivalent annually within the first 90 days retroactive to the first month that the JPP forms the government for the police, teachers, nurses, military, firefighters, paramedics, correctional officers, and over 60 new hospitals and up to 300 new health clinics, as well as promises to build 40 additional schools, as well as rebuilding existing schools and educational facilities. Still making news tonight, the states of emergencies, SOEs, that are now in place in several parishes and police divisions across the country will come to an end August 17, paving the way for the next general election. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the announcement in the House of Representatives yesterday prior to the announcement of the dates for both Nomination Day and the general election. Continuing with the news tonight, following the announcement that a non-office-based staff member tested positive for COVID-19 on Monday, communications company DIGICEL says it has been notified of 6 additional positive test results and 2 negative results for employees from the same team. The company, in a release Wednesday, noted that all of the affected team members have been self-isolating since Saturday, and all have been tested with 6 results pending. The company says it is working closely with the Ministry of Health to facilitate contact tracing and to ensure continued full compliance with all prescribed and recommended COVID-19 protocols. In the meantime, the company says its Ocean Boulevard offices in Kingston have been closed since Monday for deep cleaning, sanitization, and air purification activities, and all staff members there have been asked to work from home until further notice. In other news tonight, in a few weeks, traffic police in the corporate area will be equipped with 100 smart Android devices and portable printers to facilitate the electronic issuance of traffic tickets. The devices will also give officers the ability to reference driver and vehicle information, including ticket history, outstanding tickets, and warrants. Speaking at the official launch of the handheld ticketing pilot program in Kingston yesterday, Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang says the handheld ticketing solution will significantly impact and improve public order and public safety. Now, through the program, all traffic tickets issued with the devices will instantly be uploaded to the centralized TTMS database, which is accessible by the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, the traffic courts, and all other government agencies that depend on accurate, timely traffic ticket information to fulfill their mandates. Dr. Chang says once the pilot program has ended, more devices will be purchased to staff the entire Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch, PSTEB, and all traffic police across the island. Meanwhile, Senior Director of Technology Transformation in the Ministry, Arvel Grant, informed that approximately $40 million was spent to acquire the equipment for the pilot phase of the project. In news from St. Elizabeth, the police are investigating the murder of a senior citizen who was last night fatally shot at his home in Fullerswood District in Arlington. The deceased has been identified as 72-year-old Winston Neal, otherwise called Joe. Now, according to the police, Neal was at his home when shortly after 7 p.m. an unknown assailant entered and opened fire, hitting him several times to the upper body. The police were called and Neal was taken to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead upon arrival. In news from the capital, the Kingston Eastern Police seized 119 rounds of 9mm ammunition and a magazine during a joint operation with the Jamaica Defence Force JDF in MCINTYRE Villa at approximately 7:50 this morning. We will bring you more on this story in subsequent newscasts. Continuing with the news, the Ministry of Justice has received funding of £1 million from the United Kingdom's UK Department for International Development, DFID, for the continuation of the unification of the Prosecutorial Services Project in Jamaica. Portfolio Minister Delroy Chuck and Country Representative of the DFID, David Osborne, signed a Memorandum of Understanding MOU for the support at the Ministry's offices in Kingston yesterday. The funds will reportedly go towards strengthening the country's anti-corruption framework by building the capacity of select institutions to improve accountability and transparency. Minister Chuck said that the agreement will go a far way in addressing the long-held perception of corruption in so-called high and low places. Minister Chuck also thanked the DFID for being a critical and integral partner to Jamaica in supporting accountability and transparency in critical crime-fighting and anti-corruption institutions, and through continued support to the justice sector. Still making news tonight, the government will be allocating $1 billion in back-to-school assistance to just over 200,000 children who are on the program of advancement through health and education path and poor relief support. Making the announcement in the House of Representatives yesterday, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark explained that this will include a grant of $8,500 per student on these programs at the primary and secondary levels to help to purchase school supplies for the new academic year, which begins in September. Additionally, Dr. Clark said the government will provide a grant of $5,000 to each child at the early childhood level who is on PATH and the Poor Relief Program. The payments will be made through the regular channels for those benefits. And those are both programs and will be paid through PATH. Continuing with this story, he said the initiative is an expansion of the COVID-19 allocation of resources to employees' care program. And those were the stories making news. I return with a recap. We'll now take a break and then join Christopher Scott with sports.
The Mello TV Evening News at 8 is brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Coronavirus is in Jamaica, and I know you feel scared and worried. But you can't let COVID-19 divide us. Coronavirus infects all kinds of people. It doesn't discriminate. So why should you? When someone coughs or sneezes or shows signs of the virus, tell them to call 888-1-LOVE immediately. And remember, stay 3 feet away, but don't attack or disrespect them, because we're all in this thing together. Come on, Jamaica, cut the hate and don't discriminate. Let us stand together and fight COVID-19 as one family, one nation.